Hello.
こんにちは。Welcome to the GLocal Podcast.
Brought to you by Kwansei Gakuin University.
東京丸の内キャンパス
Our podcast is about people and events from around the world.
with your host Tamago.
And Kangaku Taro. Okay. So you're calling us, you're from Kuwait originally, but you're calling us from Switzerland. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm from Kuwait, but I reside part-time in Switzerland. Sorry, my hair, I didn't have time to go to my coiffeur and do my, mountain look.
We're only going to publish the audio, so no worries.
Sure. Excellent. Yes, I've been coming to Switzerland for 30 years. And it's part of, it has a small piece in my heart. I've been coming to Switzerland for many years, and I resided here from the 90s, but now with all life busyness and moving around, so it's becoming less and less that I come here, but I always manage to at least spend 6 weeks out of the year here in Switzerland.
Nice. Okay, so we looked at essentially you're famous because you're the first Arab man to climb Mount Everest.
I don't think I can use the word famous because it never meant anything to me. I always had the pleasure in climbing, and I was willing to climb under false name. Even because I love mountains, and I wanted to do at the time to climb at any cost. But it was, it got lots of attention. As you know, Everest always attracted attention and always attracted media and always attracted because it's the highest. And then I think I'm lucky. I was at the right time I don't know, maybe now it's becoming trendy, but, when I started 25 years ago, almost people were not, even when I told people I want to climb, they always took it lightly or they made jokes, but it's understandable when anyone suggests anything. But it wasn't I wanted to climb Everest. Everest came as a gradual, I've been doing lots of mountains and lots of, hiking and climbing and trekking and slowly it's just the prize became bigger and bigger and that's how I'm fortunate that I became the first Arab to climb the mountain. And sometimes I feel embarrassed even when people ask me, "Are you?" Because they might think that you need to look like a giant, or you need to look like a muscle man, or but I'm fortunate and lucky, certainly.
So Zed, you're giving me 7 different questions now to ask you, especially the last part, the idea of a mountain climber should look a certain way. So maybe you can tell us, what is your secret sauce? Everest is almost 9,000 meters high.
Yes.
Obviously, you started with a smaller mountain. So I want to know, maybe how old you were when you climbed your first mountain of record, and how did you train, and what is the secret sauce? If it's not looking like Superman, what is it that you think is your secret sauce, or for anyone to be able to succeed in mountain climbing?
I think I started when I went to study in university in the States, and while I was there, you are a foreign student, so you always need the time you have lots of free time on your hand, as it was with the holidays, Thanksgiving, Easter, the summertime. In Kuwait was a bit of a distance, and maybe you can go in the summer, but for me, I seized the opportunity when I was studying to travel to discover all these beautiful places that America got to offer. The White Mountains, or the Colorados, or the Poconos, and all these hikes, or the Smoky Mountains. But I always been attracted to nature. And I've always been fascinated by new places and by traveling and by history of travelers and discoverers and explorers. I mean, it's little pieces like a jigsaw you put together, and then you find out that you have this lust. I call it lust for new places and for traveling and for nature and for languages and for religions and for, it's just this huge. But I found to fulfill all of these things by discovering the new places, by climbing or by trekking into these places. And then obviously it takes a lot to climb a mountain. You need to still be healthy. You need to train. You need the state of mind. You don't need to be maybe Batman, but you need to be at least like Robin, So,
Okay.
so you need to have some physical endurance and physical strength in order to achieve, like any other sports. I think if you are dedicated, imagine somebody fit. I saw lots of climbers or friends who go with me. They were fitter than me, and they just lost it in their head or in their mind. They gave up. They lost the motivation. I have a very good friend of mine who was a very accomplished climber, but she turned around at maybe like 200 meters from the summit or 150, and she said, I've just, my mind blocked. I cannot move anymore.
Which
So I
mountain
know
was that?
it was on Everest, but on a different expedition.
Wow.
But also I climbed with people, even in smaller mountains, and I mean, many I really cannot name, but it's just people there, they lose it in their mind, it's tremendous stress and effect on your mind and your body, and you always ask yourself the same question: why halfway through, why you have to live through this misery, why you have to live enduring this weather in minus 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, it reaches 100 with wind chill, with all this, uncomfortable. Your dream is to walk barefoot. My dream is just to walk barefoot. I don't want to wear shoes anymore or boots. Imagine for 2 months you're wearing all these heavy boots and gear.
Yeah.
You want to be liberated. So it's fighting between your mind and your body, and then your strength. And this how it can become fruitful when you reach the summit. There is like a drug that I've tasted when I reached, because I overcome my own self. Everest that's inside me is not a mountain, I always say. So I overcome my own self at the end. And that's what, that's the love about mountains. Just you conquer yourself, you don't conquer a mountain.
Yeah. So it's physical fitness, it's emotional fitness, it's mental fitness.
Yes, certainly. And also it costs a lot. So you need to
How much does it cost on average, let's say?
It varies. I mean, you can always, I think you cannot get it less than maybe $50,000, 60,000. But some people I know, they were paying. I know one person, he paid more than $200,000 because he wanted supplies of oxygen. He wanted supplies of extra porters. He wanted supplies of comfortable tents and beds, and so it varies. But I think the minimum you can maybe 40, 50,000.
And this is for Everest, right? Not for any mountain.
For Everest only. That tracks, and it's justifiable, really. And the money goes into how many porters and how many Sherpas, and back into the Everest, because Everest into a national park, as you know. So all the money it pays for maintaining this big, national park.
Okay, this is super interesting now, because climbing Everest is a team sport, right? Or team effort.
Well, it can be, but talking about, of course, you need your team, but you climb alone. You maybe need more emotional support. But lots of people climbed it solo. Mesner was solo climber.
Okay.
There is famous Japanese climber, Yumera was one of the most famous in the world. He climbed, he was more into the Arctic to Antarctic, or like McKinley, all these mountains. He climbed solo, and he disappeared on Mount Denali maybe in the mid 80s, and he was solo climber. It can be done solo, but you always, for 2 months to be alone is like, this is really tough. So sometimes you admire certain individuals who've done these mountains on their own, and without support, or without, just solo climbers. It's called alpine style climbing, when individuals climb it on their own without any support of. But obviously, I love people, and I love to be surrounded by other climbers and guides, and I made lots of friends during the years from mountain climbing, and delighted, really.
So you said while you were climbing the mountain, your mental a little bit nervous, I think, and then still the reason why you keep climbing the mountain is because
Yes.
you want to explore the new place.
Yes.
So you're like curious, like the emotion that you have interested in is much bigger than the fear.
Yes, you brought it exactly on the spot. I have curiosity, and I'm always curious about new places. And I try not to read much, because I want to see everything on my own at first time. So it's curiosity. It's really what pushes me as well. I think, as I said, curiosity and overcoming my own fears of mountains, and to achieve it yourself. And you said it right. It's curious to see new places, and I don't want to be like the normal tourist anymore, to go see places and just take photos next to certain monuments, or certain things. You just want to see it, on your foot, and putting some effort into it. So you got it exactly on the spot, that I have curiosity, and part of it that pushed me toward climbing mountains.
So connected to that question, can you give us an example of a discovery that you made while climbing the mountain, that this curiosity led you to? On any mountain?
On any mountain, how to push yourself. I think, you want to see, let's say, even I read lots of books about climbing Everest. And when I climbed it, it was totally different than what the books said, because it always expressed the person's feeling and experience. So their part of their experience is part of it is not, it's physically and mentally, and he might saw a certain crevasse, or a certain gorge, or a certain gully, or a certain pitons in a different way than what I experienced. So I always discover, myself, can I make it? This is the first thing, First of all, you live in fear before climbing any mountain. You at least try to look at some photos, and you read about the technical difficulties, and the whole thing. You ask, can I make it? Do I have what it takes? Do I have the strength? Do I have the stamina? Do I have the mental, blockness? You block yourself from all these invaders, attackers in your mind that tell you cannot. And then what it would be like, how the country would be like. Let's say you go to South America, it's totally different mountain climbing than when you do it in Nepal, or you do it in Pakistan, or in Russia, or all these communities and all these mountains. It's just a different, colorful, different color, different atmosphere. And then you go and you live in this bubble, I call it, of climbing. You know, like a kid in a candy store or in a toy store, or in, you know, you see the new things, then you bring all these experiences that you had, and you put it into your climbing mountains. You know, and then the thing with climbing, have you done parachute jumping?
Yes.
When you've done parachute, you see the fun or the thrill in this 10 minutes or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. You see how when you just jump off the airplane and you go down, and before you open your chute, this thrill, this adrenaline that goes into your mind and back of your neck. You see, with mountains, it's like this, but for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or like for a month. It's the same thrill. The minute you walk in, you step a foot on a mountain till you leave. And you live in this hype, and you live in this euphoria, and you live in this thing after the mountain. Like for a month, you just, you know, let's say the hangover.
The first time I did the skydiving, I was amazed at how peaceful I felt afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's or bungee jumping, or let's say when you do, let's say maybe skydiving is maybe not many people do. Let's say rafting. You know, when you raft and you come over this, you know, currents and waves and trying to battle the like the 4 or 5 minutes thrill. It's the same with mountains, but it takes you longer. So,
Zed, I'm curious. Do you have one episode that you can share with us that is particularly memorable for you, that had a big impact on you?
I mean, all mountains have a great impact, but certainly when I I nearly died on Everest in 2001. I had lots of sponsors at the time. It was the first Arab attempt on Everest. You know, I mean, first Arab attempt to climb Everest. So I went with a French team. I think the experience taught me a lot, because halfway through, I became sick with cerebral edema, and I lost consciousness. And I was just before reaching crampon points, which is if I think I passed it, would have been very difficult to save me. But I was at advanced base camp, and this is a blessing for me, really. It's meant to be. I was chosen to climb Everest, I think, and because if I was just like 50 meter or 100 meter from where I was picked up, it would have been impossible. I would have been a dead body on Everest, for sure. So just reach advanced base camp and before crampon points on the North Pole, I lost consciousness, and then one of the guides came in and he saw me almost like a dead person, and I was lifted, carried for they took them 12 Sherpas, I think. It took them 1 day to reach base camp. Imagine, I've been carried with all these rocks and mountains, and then going back to base camp, and then flew by helicopter from the Chinese-Nepalese border, and arriving 2, 3, 4 days. I cannot remember, because I was unconscious most of the time.
That's amazing.
And imagine you open your eyes with lights in your head from the hospital. And then I think to myself, was Everest a dream? Or this is, I've been asleep and I just woke up.
Right.
Or am I at Everest dreaming of this? And this is a dream. It was this confusion, emotions crossing each other. I just went crazy, And
how long did that last?
It lasted until I saw a friend of mine, Martin Larocque, a French climber, who walked in the hospital, and I say, "Wow, she's living in Dubai. What's her story?
What is she doing
What's
here?"
this?" Yeah, and then because I put next of kin, I climbed with the French expedition at the French embassy. She was the next of kin. And then they called her and she flew straight away. And I was still in hospital, imagine. So the amount was 3-4 days. So and I said, what's she doing? You know, I was really confused, totally. I cannot, I said, I couldn't figure out, because when I became sick, I didn't know I was sick.
Right.
And I lost consciousness before I even know what happened,
That's amazing.
So, so she came and she says, Eddie, I'm glad you are alive. And, Taro, I still think it was a dream. It took me like a while to realize this is real. And then she started explaining and telling me what happened. And I was in denial for like 2-3 days and saying, why me? And then I went I said, why me? What happened? I was in good shape. And then they shift me from the hospital to the clinic, where I met with the 2 doctors. One was American, one was Nepalese. And they were specialized in mountain sickness and mountain, AMS, altitude mountain sickness researchers. And they were studying the case, and they couldn't figure out how come I never had any symptoms before. And then while they talk, and the doctor said, what brought you from the desert? What brought you from, stay with the camels, enjoy the sunny weather. I mean, it was really unmotivating what he said. But
what did you tell him?
I said, no, I will crawl. I will climb it, even if I have to crawl to the summit.
Good for you.
I will climb. And then, and I climbed 2 years after. Taro, when I climbed after I came, the first thing I've done, I never even called anyone. I went directly to the doctor at the hospital. Imagine, I came from the mountain to base camp, to crossing the border after like 24 hours. And all the climbers want to go to their hotels. I said, no, I want to go to the doctor who told me I better stick to the camels.
Exactly.
And
he
then
was
when
there.
he was there, he said, Zeddy, I heard before you came, I heard on the news that you summited, and I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I said, but he gave me the good words, but that was motivating for me as well, what he said, maybe part of it, I don't know, but it's mountains in my blood. And as I said, I want to conquer myself before I conquer any summit.
Yeah, and I think this is maybe there's a bigger story there about how people make assumptions about others and maybe discriminate against others.
I think not discriminate, Taro, is more of a stereotyping, than discriminate, because he gave it, but it opened the doors for all people from the Middle East to start climbing. And I always lecture or go to schools and universities, and I always say, if I can make it, you can make it. I'm not, I don't have a special, tool or anything. It's just, you have to be dedicated, and you have to be, motivated, and you have to want to do it.
Yeah, your story is totally related. Your favorite quote. Can I read this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Push yourself beyond what you believe your limited is. That's totally, I agree, and I really like it. So please tell us about this favorite quote. When it came up to you.
I mean, because you always think that, when you climb Tamag, and when you meet with other climbers, you hear things and you hear advices. And before I climbed on the summit push, I was with an Australian guide. I had Russell Price, also was one of the most famous guides. Also, he's well known in Japan. Russell, he climbed with many Japanese expeditions he led. And he had Mark Fetto, a cameraman and a climber. And before I left, he whispered in my ear, literally, he says, Zeddy, you can always take one more step. You can always take. So the minute you reach where you cannot, you can always. It happened to me on a mountain in South America, Aconcagua. I climbed Antarctica, and it was a 1-month expedition. I was really tired, and I tried to climb Aconcagua twice before, and I couldn't make it due to weather and due to, it is very extreme windy conditions at the time. So I said, while I'm in South America, let me give it a shot one more time. There were 8 climbers, and they were purely French. It takes 20 days to climb it. So I climbed. And fortunately the weather was good. Now is the physical strength what I need, because I've been exhausted. I've been climbing for almost 6 weeks, and on my summit push, I always remember what he told me. You can always take one more step. And I took one, and I said, this is finished. And then in my mind, one more step, and I crawled to the summit, to the last maybe 10 meters. It's up and then it becomes a bit flat. And I crawled like a baby to reach that summit. I remember what I told the doctor in Nepal. I would crawl if I have to. And I remember what the guy told me, you can always take one more step. And I took one more step until there was no steps anymore. So I have to crawl like a baby. But the joy when reaching a mountain is, you cannot describe. You cannot. I think it's impossible for anyone to, it's like winning the Olympics, winning the medal, winning something. It's just coming to life. It's in my blood now.
So moving. I'm sorry.
No,
it's a
it
good
is.
story. Thank you.
But I rather even have now sunny places in my blood, and islands and Maldives and Bora Bora. I wish I have Bora Bora in my blood now. Yes.
I thought that you had many precious experience.
It's just I'm a human being. I think human, if they are dedicated, or they put in mind they want to do something, and for the right causes as well. The right causes, not a cause of people think fame or making money or whatever. If you have the right cause, you can always achieve everything you want to do or accomplish in your life. You must have the right causes and the right motives, and you can do it. I have a great respect for Japanese climbers. I met quite a lot. You come from a nation that is well known for climbing and first ascents and solo climbers, and I have a great respect for them, and they move like teams. I met quite a lot in different mountains, and I made very good friends, and then also I have admiration for Junko Tapi, or for Yumera, or for Kunji Kundu. I mean, I have lots of a lot of people that you feel so small next to them or what they have achieved, and I have a great admiration for them, and I have a great admiration for Japan, and I had the chance to visit this beautiful country, and I hope I can visit it, one more or many more, except after Corona nightmare disappears.
Yeah, we'll take you out for coffee next time you're in Japan, at least.
Certainly.
So, speaking about your respect for Japanese climbers, is there anything maybe different about them as climbers that you can tell us about?
They very neat, and the food, they bring their food from Japan. Most of them, what I've seen, all food is imported. All the packaging, all the and they prop. They everything has to be done like in Japan. I'm sure you know them more than me, but on mountains they're not loud. Certain expeditions, tend to, you don't want to stereotype, I shouldn't say, but I mean, I always, because I like Japanese food, so I always sneak to there, try to make friends with them in order to get some freebies of some sushi, not sushi rolls, the sushi, all the
Right.
food, everything, and then also they have. As I said, they've been very big on Manaslu. It's almost, they call it the Japanese mountain. It's the fifth highest in the world, because they were the first people to climb it from an 8,000 meter perspective, mountains over 26,000 feet. So Japan had the chance to be the first country to reach that summit, Manaslu. And it's their mountain, so it's but also they've done lots of different mountains around the world as well, so as I said, I have a great admiration for Japanese climbers and Japanese expedition, and the way they come and the way they leave, it's everything prop and everything is done to the highest standard possible.
How do you usually choose the mountain that you climb?
How do I choose?
Yeah, so there are tons of mountains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they choose me. It's not how I choose. It comes, sometimes because I always like to travel, and then you get drawn by certain places. Let's say I went to New Caledonia, which is in New Caledonia, Nouvelle Caledonie. It's an island in opposite Australia, and then it's about they want to get their independence and they want to get their from France.
Mhm.
And then I was hearing the news, and so then this clicked in my mind, so start to searching about what treks they have, what mountains they have, so it's always like this. You attracted to a place, and then you get attracted by the nature, what they offer. But also mountains, you said there are tons, but there are famous mountains and achievable mountains, and you need to climb a mountain where you have, they can provide you with services, or accessible mountains, beautiful mountains in Pakistan, for example, or Kazakhstan, or northern India, but they're very difficult to reach. And the logistics, it's like a nightmare. So you always want to go to mountains where you can, I mean, for us, we consider ourselves like tourist mountain, tourist climbers there. So we need to have a great access and great facilities to these mountains, especially, now as well. So it's as you said, lots of mountains around the world, and I'm not finished yet. I'm always searching for, and even now my dream and appetite become bigger, because we cannot travel like before. Corona just restricted us. So so many mountains I describe is like somebody hungry and entering a restaurant buffet. He wants to eat everything, he wants to order, so this is exactly the, you cannot control now. I'm trying to, I don't want to lose it. I want to go everywhere. But as I said, whenever I have time, and that I have a family and I have work, so I need to manage between all these places and my work life and my family life. And
Question: do you think the pandemic has been good for the mountains, the same way it's
certainly,
been good for nature?
certainly, it's been good, but I hope the land can regenerate itself. The land or nature can regenerate itself. You can give it a chance to get back to what it used to be. It would be very difficult now, because the damage has been done, as I said, with the global warming, with the what human left with this all. I read Samia's episode, with all this plastic waste that we have, and then this affecting world. But I think, human beings, if they don't set laws and regulations, pandemic is good temporary, but this, what they will do now might even destroy it worse than what it was, because people want to get out now. So the traveling industry, they predict it will jump like, three folds after this over, because people want to travel. But I think if they need to set new regulations and they take tougher stance on all these polluters, or all laws, as I said, with the same thing with the reduce the carbon footprint in the world, and it should be, we can really have a chance. But if by the rate we are doing, it's no chance at all. All glaciers are disappearing and around the world, many, not all, many disappearing. There is one glacier next to maybe 45 minutes from my home here. It's called La Bousson, that I've been going for in the Chamonix Valley. I've been going for 30 years to the same place, and it's getting smaller and smaller. It will disappear, not like in my lifetime probably. The same thing in Kilimanjaro, the glacier, the Kibu Glacier is disappearing. I went again 25 years ago, and I went 2 months ago. It's almost gone, So all of this because of the human effect on
Environment.
nature, environment, yes. So we just need to have a new set of rules and regulations and tougher stance, and then climbers are as I said, I should say clean people, because we always try to protect the environment, because we do it. This is our we learn from it, so we always try to protect it. So you are afraid from these tourist climbers who go in and they leave all this waste behind, and so it's an effort we need to put in.
I really inspired from your challenge today.
Thank you.
What makes you motivated?
What made me motivated? As I said in the beginning, I always try to overcome myself. I want to see if I can do it. I've done, beside climbing, I've done, one time I've done marathon des Sables. It's a marathon in the desert in Morocco. It's 200 and on the sand. It's called Marathon des Sables. It's one of the most famous marathons in the world. You cross the Sahara Desert over a period of 6 days, carrying your own food and nothing, and you have your own boost, your own map and your own compass, and then you need to cross the desert within a time frame. They have 6 stages, and some stages are like 95 kilometer, one stage is 40, one stage, and it's in the desert, it's hot, it's sand, and you need to do it. And it's been playing in my mind for many years. And I did join. I was one of the first people from the Gulf to do with me, with a couple of guys. And for me, the whole idea, can I do it? Because I'm not a runner. I don't run. How would I run? And in the desert, carrying my own food and gear. But you know what? I worked on it. I psyched up myself. I've been exercising. And at the end, I managed to do it. And the thrill that I have after completing that race, it was almost equal to summiting Everest. So the whole idea is to overcome my own self, is to conquer my own self, to exceed your expectation, to surpass your own limit. This is my Everest. Every time I surpass my own limit, is I'm reaching Everest over and over again.
Sorry. So this mindset and these practices can really apply to anything in your life, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. To achieve it. And I'm working on a deal now in Switzerland. Probably tomorrow. That been like 3 months on my business side. And then it's really been difficult, it's been like, I said that we'll do it as like cesarean, like giving birth, for a woman, even if we do it by cesarean section, we just need. So then if you are a man and you don't do cesarean, what you will do? So I said, I'm psyching, I try to psych up myself, even for this deal. I've been trying to overcome all obstacles. We had lots of obstacles in the deal, especially during this Corona and all of the, set in around the world, the problems that Corona caused. And I sit and I sat with the lawyers and the accountants, and I said, guys, you make it difficult for me. Why? I climbed. I'm a climber. I can make it. You climb. I said, we know that, but you can do it. What we cannot do it. So it's you psych up yourself, even in your work, in your life. Nothing is difficult if you put your mind to it. Nothing is difficult if you put your mind to it. But also you need to know the circumstances, and you need to be rational and realistic. You cannot tell me you want to jump from a 20-floor building down and you can survive because your mindset tell you can. No, there are things beyond human capability. You cannot go sit with a tiger in a cage and you say, my mindset can save me. No, you have to be realistic and know your limits. And know your limits so you can surpass them little bit more in order to achieve what you want to achieve.
So speaking of achievements, what's your next goal that you want to achieve? This is a question from one of our students, by the way.
I mean, the sky is the limit. I want to climb mountains. I want to travel. I don't have yet a mountain in mind for now. I still want to climb Manaslu. But my wife and kids pushing me not to. Manaslu, it's also a special mountain for me. As I said, Japanese expedition were the first, and I tried to climb it 4 or 5 years ago, but it didn't work out. Also, I have a friend of mine who climbed with me Everest. Her name Susan Fear. She died on that mountain. She fell in a crevasse, almost maybe like 200 meters. It was impossible to. And Susan and I, we had a special relation on the mountain. She wrote a book, and we didn't click. We in the beginning we didn't really have that. The charisma. Both charismas are different. Also, she was an individualist person, and she's well accomplished Australian climber. And she wrote a book, and the book about our climb on Everest, and she criticized me in the book quite a lot, and then when I called her, or I called, because she said, Zeddy, I just want to make it gossip. I want to have kiss and tell book in order to sell the book, because it made sense, but it was all fabricated. I shouldn't say fabricated, but it's
exaggerated.
So I got not exaggerated. They were untrue. Most of.
Then that's fabricated.
Yeah. I
That's the
mean,
right word.
yeah, when she said this guy coming from, a Kuwaiti living in Switzerland, smoking cigars on the mountain, and his hair is dyed blonde, and he brought cases. I mean, true, but and I have cases of food, drinks, for the for like almost everyone, like. But that's the way I climb. I normally ship lots of goodies to the whole camp. And then she said he tried to buy his way on the mountain. I mean, all of these things.
Wow.
And then I spoke to her, and me. I mean, he abused all the people around. I mean, totally. And I spoke to the leaders. They said no one, in life treated people the way you treat, Sherpas. When I asked her, I say, Susan, she said, oh, Zed, it's like we try to, she need to sell a book, make a story, so the whole book, Zeddy done this, Zeddy done that. So anyway, we made up, and then sadly after she said, I'm going to Manaslu. This was 1 year and a half after. I mean, it was like 2 months after she wrote the book. She fell in a crevasse and she died. And I wanted to like follow in the footstep of climbing the mountain. It's like in respect of what she have done. She never reached the summit, but it's I wanted to go and climb the mountain. Still on my mind, and I think maybe I'll give it a year or 2 years, and hopefully I can do it. And it will be my third mountain over 26,000 feet. The 8,000ers. So I hope so. I mean, we can only dream now. For now, we dream.
Good.
Yes.
All right. Ladies, any other questions?
Oh, so when you were a student, did you imagine your great adventure life like that? And what kind of student you were?
Tamago, not really. I didn't. I never thought that I would, achieve or accomplish what I have done. Also, I don't think it's really, for me, it's not accomplishment. Yeah, I always feel lucky, and I feel, I'm the same person before and after. I didn't think so, no, but I was a very good student. I went to Stockton University. I was, always, I made the dean's list maybe 3-4 times. I graduated with 3-point average GPA, which is quite, be a student. And I always, because I loved school, I loved studying, I loved researching, and, I loved this life. And I always want to be student. And we're still students, but without professors now. We have to. So I never thought that I would, because I really enjoy life as well. I enjoy, joy, but relaxing, and we always like the luxury that life offers. But then, it's if you have the spark in your eye, and you have this thing in the itch, in yourself, you have that itch that you want to see the world. You can see it at a different ways, whether it's climbing or whether it's sailing. I want to do sailing as well. Would be,
Yeah, why not?
why not? I've done, but to do sailing in a way where you wanna, like the famous sails, the Sydney Hobart, or the Volvo Ocean Race, and these people, how they cross the ocean with this small boat. This is an accomplishment. This is an achievement.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's everything. As I said, thrill seeker, maybe. I don't know. We just need to seek all these thrills.
Yeah, and always you beyond your limit.
Yeah,
That
always
makes
push
you,
myself. Yeah, until time comes, you know.
Yeah, what a great life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
you made it. We choose our own destiny. You are the captain of your own ship.
True.
Sure.
You are the captain. You are the master of your own soul.
Yeah.
You know, you the one who decide which way. That we only find excuses. We do not find a human being. They always find excuse rather than searching for motivations. So if you look what motivates you and try to eliminate all these excuses. That's why I said in the beginning, all these climbers, they find different ways to not reach the summit. I forgot to tell you, at one of the climbs, I cannot remember which I said, I wish I can break my leg halfway through.
Oof.
You know why? Because I want to finish the climb. So I want something, a cause that made me return without me giving up.
Right.
Because I don't give up. But the conditions were very bad, and then miserable, and blisters and cracked lips and skins peeling, and then frost nip fingers and toes, but I didn't stop, and I said I wish, because how would I live with myself with turning around? I will never turn around. I know now why lots of people die on Everest, because they don't turn around. They don't know their limits because they cannot live with themselves. And I can relate to these people. So I said, if I break my leg, at least they can rescue me. They know I have a good excuse to turn around. But I couldn't break my own leg. So that's, as I said, searching for the motivation rather than finding some, excuses, That's why. Look, we all have dreams, but I think go look for yourself. You don't need to climb Everest. You don't need to cross the desert. You don't need to, swim across the English Channel. It's the achievement can be, your class, your finishing your university.
Or starting a company.
Starting company, finish your studies, chase and protect the environments during these things, because as I said, we live in it. And I have a great respect for Japan. Honestly, I'm very honored and thrilled that you have contacted me. I have a great admiration for Japan and the Japanese people. I mean, I always read, I always, watch movies relating to Japan. I've been fascinated by this country, and I went during Sakura season a few years ago, and I've done many interviews, and they all, I've been to over 100 countries, maybe 120, 130 or something. And every time, most of magazines or television or interviews, they ask me, out of the 120 countries you visited, which one stands out? And I always mention two. I always say Japan and Tunisia. Tunisia and Japan. I said these two countries stuck in my mind, and I can't get enough. Whether it's the people, the nature, everything about this country. So you have to appreciate where you come from more than anyone else. You are lucky people, honestly.
Well, I think I speak for everyone when I say that we are honored that you accepted our invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right.
Arigato gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you. Sayonara. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of The GLocal with your host, Tamago
and Kangaku Taro. See you next time.
Bye-bye.